Marcus is 46 years old. He's been contributing to his 401k faithfully for 18 years, ever since his first real job out of college. He never missed a paycheck contribution. He bumped it up every time he got a raise, like every financial article told him to. Last week, out of curiosity, he actually sat down and did the math on what his balance would look like at 65 and whether it would actually be enough to retire on. The number didn't work, not even close. At his current trajectory, factoring in realistic market returns, his actual balance, and rising healthcare costs, Marcus would need to work until at least 71 just to retire with something resembling financial security, not 65, not the normal retirement age he'd always pictured. 71, 18 years of disciplined saving, doing exactly what he was told, and the math still says he's 6 years short. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Marcus isn't bad with money. He's not an outlier. According to data from Vanguard's own retirement research, the median 401k balance for someone in their late 40s is around $60,000 to $70,000. Not the median for someone who's behind, the median. Half of all people Marcus's age have less than that. If the system was actually designed to get ordinary, disciplined savers to a comfortable retirement, why does the math not work for the median person doing everything right? My name is Bobby, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible mechanics of wealth, and specifically about systems that look like they're built for you, but were actually built for someone else. If you've ever looked at your 401k balance and felt a little wave of dread instead of confidence, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we're talking about the 401k lie and why the retirement system most working Americans rely on wasn't actually designed to get you to a comfortable retirement. It was designed as a tax loophole, and you inherited the consequences. Here's a piece of history almost nobody knows. The 401k wasn't created by Congress as a retirement plan for American workers. It was created almost by accident in 1978 as a minor provision buried inside a tax code revision originally intended to let executives defer bonus income to reduce their tax bill. A benefits consultant named Ted Benna, working in 1980, realized this obscure provision could technically be applied to regular employees' savings and essentially invented the modern 401k as we know it as a side effect of trying to help his corporate clients. It was never voted on by Congress as, here's America's new retirement system. It was a loophole that companies adopted because it was dramatically cheaper for them than what came before. And what came before matters enormously because it tells you who used to bear the risk. Before the 401k became standard, most large employers offered pensions, technically called defined benefit plans. In a pension, the employer promises you a specific monthly payment for the rest of your life after retirement, and the employer bears all the investment risk to make that promise happen. If the market crashes, that's the company's problem, not yours. Your check still arrives. The 401k flipped that risk entirely onto you. It's called a defined contribution plan for a reason. Nobody defines what you'll get at the end. They only define what goes in. If the market crashes the year before you retire, that's not the company's problem anymore. That's your problem. Companies switched from pensions to 401ks throughout the 1980s and 90s, not because it was better for workers, but because it was dramatically cheaper and lower risk for the company. You went from being promised an outcome to being handed a gamble and told good luck. Now let's follow the real math, the way we do with every trap on this channel. Let's say you contribute $500 a month starting at age 25, all the way to age 65. That's 40 years of consistent contributions, totaling $240,000 out of your own pocket. At a historical average market return of around 7%, that could theoretically grow to well over $1 million. Sounds great, right? Here's where the fine print comes in. Most people never actually check their fund's expense ratio, the annual fee charged to manage your investments. It sounds small, 0.5%, 1%. But fees compound exactly the same way gains do, except in reverse. A fund charging 1% in annual fees compared to a fund charging 0.1% doesn't sound like a big difference. Over 40 years, on that same $240,000 in contributions, that seemingly small 0.9% fee difference can consume well over $150,000 of your final balance. That's not a rounding error. That's a house. That's years of retirement income, quietly siphoned off in fees you probably never read the disclosure for. Then there's vesting. Many employers require you to stay at the company for a certain number of years, often 3 to 5, before their matching contributions actually belong to you. Leave before that cliff, and every dollar of free money your employer matched simply evaporates, clawed back like it was never yours at all. According to data compiled by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American changes jobs every 4 years. That means a huge percentage of workers are losing employer match money they thought was already theirs simply by changing jobs at a normal, healthy career pace. And then there's the early withdrawal penalty. If you need that money before age 59 and a half, for almost any reason, a medical emergency, a job loss, a genuine crisis, the government takes a 10% penalty on top of regular income tax. Your emergency fund of last resort comes with a built-in punishment for using it in an emergency. So let's add it up the way we always do on this channel. Your $240,000 in contributions, minus $150,000 in lifetime fee drag from a high-cost fund, minus employer match money lost to job changes before vesting, minus potential early withdrawal penalties if life happens before 59 and a half. The million-dollar projection that looked so clean on paper starts looking a lot more fragile the moment you follow the actual mechanics instead of the marketing. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Bobby, but my employer matches my contributions. That's literally free money. How can that possibly be bad? And you're right to push back on that because the employer match genuinely is one of the best financial deals most people will ever be offered. If your employer matches 50 cents on the dollar up to 6% of your salary, that's an instant 50% return before the market even does anything. No stock picker on earth can promise you that. The match itself isn't the lie. The lie is the assumption that because the match is good, the entire surrounding system must therefore be optimized for your benefit. It isn't. The match is genuinely good. The fee structure, the vesting cliffs, the lack of transparency, and the sheer complexity that keeps most people from ever comparing their fund's expense ratio to cheaper alternatives. That part of the system benefits the fund managers and the employer far more than it benefits you. So what do we actually do with this information? Because the answer isn't don't use your 401k. That would be leaving real money on the table. Step 1. Always capture the full employer match. This is genuinely free money and should be the first dollar of any retirement strategy. Full stop. No exceptions. Step 2. Actually check your fund's expense ratio. Most 401k plans offer multiple fund options, often including low-cost index funds buried a few menus deep, next to expensive, actively managed funds that underperform the market anyway while charging you more to do it. This single check, comparing your current fund's expense ratio to the lowest cost index option in your plan, can be worth tens of thousands of dollars over your career, and it takes about 10 minutes. Step 3. Understand your vesting schedule before you make any job change decision. If you're 18 months away from full vesting on a meaningful match, that's real information that should factor into your timing, the same way you'd factor in a signing bonus at a new job. Step 4. Don't treat the 401k as your only retirement vehicle because contribution limits are capped because the money is genuinely locked up until 59 and a half and because you have limited fund choices dictated by your employer, pairing it with something like a Roth IRA, which gives you more control, more fund options, and tax-free growth, gives you flexibility the 401k alone simply doesn't offer. Let's put a real example next to this. Two people, Jamie and Alex, both contribute exactly $500 a month starting at $25. Jamie never checks her fund menu and stays in the default fund the company auto-enrolled her in, which charges 1.2% annually. Alex spends 15 minutes in year 1 comparing fund options and switches to an index fund charging 0.05%. Same contributions, same market, same 40 years. At retirement, Alex's balance is meaningfully larger than Jamie's, not because Alex is smarter or made better market picks, but because Alex read the fine print once and Jamie never did. That 15-minute decision compounds into one of the largest financial choices of either of their lives, and neither of them will ever fully feel it happening in real time because fee drag is invisible day to day. It only becomes visible 40 years later when it's too late to fix. Here's the reframe I want to leave you with. The 401k isn't a scam you should avoid. It's a tool that was built by an industry for reasons that had almost nothing to do with your personal retirement security and then handed to you with a user manual nobody bothers to read. The employer match is real value. The tax advantages are real value, but the system surrounding those benefits, the fees, the vesting cliffs, the sheer complexity was never designed with your best interest as the primary goal. It was designed as a cost-saving mechanism for employers that happen to also help workers, as long as those workers did their own homework. The people who actually retire comfortably aren't the ones who blindly trusted the system to work in their favor. They're the ones who use the genuinely good parts, the match, the tax advantages, while refusing to accept the expensive default settings without question. If this video made you want to go check your own 401k's expense ratio and vesting schedule tonight, good, that's exactly the point. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges how you think about money. And if you know someone who's never once looked at their fund menu, send them this video because the 15 minutes it takes to check could be worth tens of thousands of dollars by the time they actually need the money.